time. Usually it tells you how much time you've got, but not now. Look, today I would like to talk about one of my favourite concepts, which is emergent phenomena. When I was a kid, when I was about 8 or 9, I used to live on a tropical island in the South Pacific called Niue, and I used to collect seashells, like this one. It's a textile cone, I think, but there's lots of them which are kind of different species, where they've all got variations on the same pattern. This is a geography cone. If that was alive, it would kill me, because they've got like venomous spines that shoot out with about 100 different neurotoxins. And I like neurotoxins, but it is possible to have too much of a good thing. But anyway, the reason I find these so interesting is that they've got this pattern which is made out of like little triangles. Like it's almost like fractals, like little triangles all feeding into each other and so on. And 40 years after I picked that up on a beach on Niue, I stumbled across this thing called Cellular Automata. And Cellular Automata, otherwise known as Conway's Game of Life, is what happens when you get a big grid pattern like a Go board or infinite noughts and crosses. And you can have like the cells filled in, or empty, and there's turns, and with each turn, a cell either disappears or appears depending on how many neighbours it has. So if it doesn't have any neighbours, it dies of loneliness. It disappears. If it has one neighbour, then another cell gets filled in, like they have a little baby celllet between them. And if there's more than 3, then it dies of overcrowding or whatever. And out of those 3 really simple rules, quite complicated patterns emerge, and that is one of the patterns, which I find absolutely incredible, because it means somewhere in the DNA of this creature is something not dissimilar to Conway's Game of Life, which is producing this camouflage pattern. And what people have managed to do with these, with Cellular Automata, just a simple grid with 3 rules, is absolutely incredible. I mean, one of the things that somebody's managed to do is to make that framework, like a Game of Life framework, inside another Game of Life framework. So, you know, the Game of Life can be used to generate itself at a higher level. And somebody's managed to make a Turing complete computer out of it. And that's absolutely gobsmacking. And what that means is the digital file that you're watching right now could be recreated by a grid with 3 rules of things blinking on and off. It would theoretically be possible to show a 40K movie with it. It would take about 1 million trillion years to run, but it would work. It would be possible to do. And, Conway's Game of Life, like little creatures appear in it. And it reminds me that, like, when I was a kid, we didn't have TV because from parental oversight and living in very remote places, we didn't have TV till I was about 15. So me and my brother used to make up these board game. We used to have board games, but we used to make up variations. And one of the variations was a mixture of Chinese checkers, which is actually German, I think. But we used to be racist against Germans for starting World War II. So we call it Chinese checkers rather than German checkers, was what it should have been. So a mixture of Chinese checkers and ancient Egyptian checkers, or, regular checkers. So you basically have, each person would have 3 teams. And when you jumped over an enemy piece, you take that off the board. But if you jumped over your own piece, you'd be fine. And one of the things that emerged from that, an emergent phenomenon from that, is there's a particular configuration, a diamond configuration, which is especially hard to attack, but it's quite good for scurrying about the place. It's quite mobile. So it's like combining ancient Egyptian checkers and Chinese checkers creates these little creatures. And something I find another thing that's quite interesting about that is natural selection is an emergent phenomena of 4 different rules. It's, what you need is mortality, hereditary, traits being passed from one generation to another, mutation, and a constrained environment, limited energy that these things have to compete for. And if you have those, then you will have natural selection. It's, game theoretically provable now. And I find that quite interesting because, what that means is the possibility that everything in the whole of, everything in external reality and internal reality, come to that, is, can be looked at. I wouldn't say is, but it can be looked at as a product of emergent phenomena. And it's, in certain respects, it's a better way of looking at what actually happens in actual reality than simply cause and effect. And one of the things about it is it's very, very difficult and occasionally mathematically impossible to predict what the higher order effects are going to be. Although, you can look back the other way and hypothesize as to what, the causal framework was to create whatever it is that has been created, but you can't look forward. Not easily. Not easily. There's this emergent phenomena in human politics that tends to generate clowns working on behalf of big money and appealing to the very worst traits, instincts of authoritarianism. Why is it that fascist leaders are so often clowns? Because they are. I mean, we've got one in New Zealand now, for fuck's sake. Well, New Zealand has now got its own Nigel Farage. Fantastic. How the fuck did that happen? Unbelievable. But, there's Nigel Farage, you've got your Nigels, you've got your Donald Trumps, Berlusconi in Italy, whatever that creature in Argentina is. Why? Why are they clowns? And, another political example of something unpredicted emerging is when Tony Blair in the UK, when his government decided it would be a good idea to publish the test scores of all the schools in the country, the unintended side effect with that was massively accelerating class division and class warfare, because what happened is the house prices in the catchment areas of schools with good scores went through the ceiling, which meant that only people with a lot of money could get their children to schools which had good scores. And, he was a Labour Prime Minister, for fuck's sake. That should be the exact opposite of everything he stands for. Mind you, so should a lot of the things he did. But yeah, that's another example of emergent phenomena. And the internet, the original sin of the internet is that we paid for the whole thing with advertising. And an emergent phenomena of that is, America is going to be lucky for its democracy to survive in November. One of the nasty, queasy feelings I have about the last January 6th insurrection is if the upcoming election goes to Trump, I think it is entirely justifiable for normal human beings to storm the Capitol. Because he's a fascist, he's openly talking about, what was the latest one? A unifying Reich? Please. A major part of why that has happened is because we used advertising to pay for the internet. So all of these companies, advertising companies like Facebook and Google and so on, have to compete with each other to the death for attention. And the best way of getting attention from people is to get them to fight with each other. Appeal to their fear and aggression and in-group, out-group dynamics and so on and so on. Twitter's an absolute fucking shit show. And the mad thing about it is, I got banned from Facebook. I didn't get banned. I got hacked and can't get back on it because they don't provide any support. But I got banned from Facebook a couple of months ago, and I actually really miss getting into fights with people. I miss the thunder, I miss the rain. Still, I digress quite badly. The trouble with this species of clown is you have to take them seriously when they say they're going to do something, because they usually do it. But anyway, so yeah, emergent phenomena. This is about, it's sort of, for me, it's like a core concept. And, on the internet, on YouTube, there are hundreds and hundreds of people far, far smarter than me discussing, the philosophical, ramifications of this thing, because it is actually possible to theoretically boot the whole of external and internal reality from these simple rule sets. It's a legitimate way of looking at things and why they are the way they are. And I forgot, I've lost a thread there.